A special hour-long presentation regarding From Software's upcoming Armored Core 6 will be held next month. From Software has seen tremendous success in the past decade, with the release of Elden Ring cementing the studio as a game development juggernaut. The developer also revealed a new entry in the long-running Armored Core series at the Game Awards 2022 show. While it didn't give an exact release window other than 2023, it seems like some more information will be given to fans soon. For the uninitiated, Armored Core is one of From Software's most prolific and long-running franchises, with 15 mainline games between 1997 and 2013. Since there was a long absence from this franchise, the Armored Core 6 reveal was a big surprise to many fans, including those who were longtime followers of the studio. While information about Armored Core 6 has been trickling out slowly, including details like its multiplayer mode or how it isn't aiming to be a Souls-like game, a presentation at the Taipei Game Show next month is scheduled for the game. The Taipei Game Show is an annual gaming exhibition held in Taipei, Taiwan, which is focused on a variety of gaming genres and demographics. Bandai Namco and From Software are also going to be a part of the event, with Armored Core 6 being listed on the website with an hour-long slot that will give information about the game. The publisher has even created a preload stream for the presentation, and producer Yasunori Ogura will be making an appearance during this showcase as well. With an hour-long segment being dedicated to this game, players can expect some new footage about Armored Core 6's gameplay to be shown off at this presentation. This presentation will be broadcasting on February 3rd at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the YouTube preview allowing fans to notify them when the stream has gone live. Considering that Armored Core 6 was only revealed last month, this is a somewhat quick turnaround time for players to learn more about the latest From Software game. Fans have high expectations for Armored Core 6, especially with the track record of successful titles from the studio. For those wondering whether the remake of Dead Space will have any surprises, it appears as though this modern iteration of the iconic horror title will have an alternate ending, according to a leaked list of trophies. Given that the original game will be turning 15 this year, along with some other classics like Fallout 3, Left 4 Dead, and Fable 2. No doubt many fans have already played Visceral Games' 2008 survival horror to such an extent that they'll know everything there is about the story. But it seems as though there will be some new elements at least. With release day coming ever closer, gameplay footage from the Dead Space remake has already been leaked, showing 2 hours from the campaign, which gives some major insight into what players can expect come January 27th. The leaks don't end there either as, perhaps in a bid to keep fans on their toes, a list of trophies for the upcoming game has revealed something that was not in the original game. According to the trophy list, the remake of Dead Space is likely to have an alternate ending for players to seek out. One of the secret achievements called Reunion, with the accompanying description saying, see the alternative ending on any difficulty mode. With so little information to go on, there's not much that can be gleaned, so it's hard to say precisely what this other ending could be. Whether it will be a drastic divergence from the canon ending cannot be said at this stage, but no doubt many fans will have some theories as to what it could entail. The Dead Space remake trophy list was leaked very recently, showing what achievements players can get during play. It's unheard of for modern games to not include some sort of achievements, but it's still interesting to see what goals can be aimed for. Some of the ones listed for Dead Space include completing the game in impossible mode, installing every weapon upgrade, killing so many enemies, and more. On top of all this, the fact that a Dead Space remake developer says the game is terrifying suggests the studio has really gone above and beyond with this iteration. Given its linear narrative and its age, many may feel their expectations won't be undermined too much, but it seems as though the remake could offer up a few twists that die-hard fans won't be anticipating. Gus Urquhart, CEO of Obsidian Entertainment, revealed his earnest desire to make another Fallout game. For fans of Obsidian's work on Fallout New Vegas and its other successful IPs, this comes as incredibly welcome news. Since the 2015 release of Fallout 4, fans of the irreverent, Golden Age, post-apocalyptic RPG series have been hungry for more. While Fallout 76 sated that hunger for some, many gamers yearned for another single-player entry in the Fallout franchise. With Bethesda's current release pipeline putting The Elder Scrolls 6 as the next mainline game from its flagship studio after the late 2023 release of Starfield, there is some indication that it could be many years before fans get a taste of Fallout 5. Fans are speculating that with Microsoft's 2021 acquisition of Bethesda, a third-party studio could be brought in to pick up the mantle and release a new Fallout game. As Microsoft also owns Obsidian Entertainment, it would seem to be a perfect fit, but as of now, nothing has been announced. In an interview conducted on January 18 with Game Pressure, Gus Urquhart hinted that he would relish the opportunity to work on another Fallout game. "I would love to make another Fallout before I retire," Urquhart mentioned during the interview. The 52-year-old CEO of Obsidian Entertainment feels like he still has a lot in the tank, and while the studio is currently hard at work on its new IP, Avowed, as well as a sequel to its spacefaring corporate dystopia RPG, The Outer Worlds, there is hope that its next game could be a much-coveted sequel to Fallout New Vegas. Bethesda has already confirmed that Fallout 5 will be its next game after The Elder Scrolls 6, but at its current timeline, Fallout 5 will not arrive for a long time. In the meantime, a studio like Obsidian, which has proved its competence within the franchise, would be an ideal landing spot for a spin-off or smaller-scale Fallout title. Something to tide fans over while Bethesda finalizes work on Starfield and ramps up development on The Elder Scrolls 6 would be a dream come true. Especially for those who view Fallout New Vegas as a high watermark for the series. While the release of Fallout New Vegas 2 might still be wishful thinking, the expressed interest of Gus Urquhart coupled with both Bethesda and Obsidian Entertainment being acquired by Microsoft, a new Fallout game by Obsidian Entertainment might become a matter of when instead of a far-fetched if. Crystal Dynamics officially confirms that the studio is ending support for Marvel's Avengers. This comes only a few hours after news broke that Crystal Dynamics was planning such an announcement regarding Marvel's Avengers. Developer Crystal Dynamics and publisher Square Enix released the action-adventure brawler game in September 2020. Marvel's Avengers stars the young superheroine Ms. Marvel as she reunites the scattered Avengers to battle Marvel villains and the sinister corporation Advanced Idea Mechanics, also known as IM. Crystal Dynamics released multiple rounds of new content since Marvel's Avengers launched, some of which were quite well received. However, they haven't been enough to reverse the game's fading popularity. Tomb Raider developer Crystal Dynamics just announced that Marvel's Avengers would not receive any new content after the launch of Update 2.8 on March 31, 2023. This will be the first step in Crystal Dynamics' plan to sunset Marvel's Avengers and conclude all official support on September 30, 2023. However, players will still be able to experience the game in both single-player and multiplayer modes. The developer also plans to turn off Marvel's Avengers cosmetic marketplace on March 31st. At that point, the game will stop selling credits, all purchased credits will be converted to other resources, and all cosmetic items will be available for free. Marvel's Avengers players can refer to a chart on the game's website to see which in-game resources they are set to receive. Payouts fall into 5 brackets covering credit balances ranging from 1 to 24,999. All players will receive a payout in units, fragments, upgrade modules, polycoron, and DNA keys. Players with 25,000 credits or more will receive the maximum allowable amount of all 5 in-game resources. The announcement on the Marvel's Avengers website also described the free cosmetics as a way to thank fans for supporting the game. The blog post also contained an FAQ restating and clarifying the information covered in the announcement message. This included confirmation that Crystal Dynamics plans to stop selling Marvel's Avengers for all platforms and on all storefronts starting September 30, 2023. The game will also leave Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus on the same date. However, players who purchase pre-owned copies after September 2023 will still be able to play the game and have free access to all cosmetic items in Marvel's Avengers. The FAQ also clarified the end of support included the suspension of all customer service for Marvel's Avengers on September 30th. While unfortunate for fans, this suspension of support should not be surprising for anyone following news around the game. Reports emerged in December 2022 that Crystal Dynamics planned to stop supporting Marvel's Avengers in 2023, with similar rumors surfacing earlier. One can't help but wonder if the coverage may have encouraged Crystal Dynamics to make the announcement sooner instead of later. Crystal Dynamics' announcement that it scrapped the roadmap for Avengers early, with many updates already announced or leaked for the title. Hope to see these features has all but diminished overnight. Patrol Mode was an officially confirmed feature for Marvel's Avengers, announced by Crystal Dynamics way back in March 2021. The developer described Patrol Mode as the largest warzone to date, with players able to explore and fulfill objectives without the constraints of a mission. The mode was set to include exclusive rewards and would allow fans to complete any quest they pleased. When a year passed without any updates, loyal fans were left questioning what happened to Patrol Mode. Many believe that the mode would provide a significant boost to the game's playability, as the constraints enforced by Avengers gameplay were a long-standing issue. A playable She-Hulk was expected to launch in Marvel's Avengers in August 2022, to coincide with the premiere of the She-Hulk series on Disney+. The character was seemingly leaked by mentions within Avengers game files and a tweet by the character's alleged voice actress. However, rumors began circulating in November that the character was delayed due to development issues. She-Hulk was expected to operate similarly to Jane Foster's Mighty Thor, in that she would share some abilities with her male counterpart, and feature a few unique skills of her own. It is uncertain whether She-Hulk was set to launch alongside a mini-campaign, though fans hoped the character would play a significant role. The She-Hulk DLC for Marvel's Avengers is likely the most complete element that was abandoned by Crystal Dynamics' shuttering of the title, making it among the most significant losses for the game's fans. Another character fans expected to arrive in Marvel's Avengers was Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel. The inclusion of the character, alongside other fan favorites, was seemingly confirmed in a leaked DLC release order for Avengers. Ms. Marvel is a central character in the game's narrative, and many fans believed a moment between the two Marvels was inevitable. Captain Marvel has quickly become a fan favorite since her introduction to the MCU. With Danvers appearing in a post-credit scene for Disney+'s Ms. Marvel and news of the upcoming The Marvels movie, fans were ready to see the character debut in Marvel's Avengers as well. With no official announcement of Captain Marvel's debut in Marvel's Avengers prior to the announcement that the game would end, fans will never get the chance to see Crystal Dynamics' plans for the character. War Machine was another hero revealed by Avengers' leaked DLC release order. The character was considered a natural addition by fans of the title, as Iron Man debuted at launch and the character would require few alterations. War Machine's leak coincided with that of Captain Marvel, with whom he shares a romantic past, adding credence to the likelihood the two could launch together in a co-starring narrative. War Machine would likely operate similarly to Tony Stark, with only minor tweaks to his model and animations. Beyond the differences in the character's armor, War Machine would brandish modern weaponry, such as basic handguns and a heavy minigun attack. It is uncertain how close to completion the character was when development stopped. Unfortunately, being a live-service game, its woes don't end at launch. Bugs and lackluster content saw players leave Marvel's Avengers in droves, and what started as strong sales around the world quickly became a wasteland. In November 2020, a 96% decrease in players to around 1,190 was reported on Steam, and at some point later the Steam numbers dipped under 500. Such low numbers meant that as Marvel's Avengers continued its run, it became harder to matchmake online and enjoy one of the game's few remaining selling points. Player dissatisfaction remained through the December 8, 2020 release of the Kate Bishop expansion, and the March 18, 2021 Hawkeye expansion. Third expansion, Operation Black Panther, War for Wakanda, saw a brief spike in player numbers when it came out on August 17, 2021. However, more trouble was brewing in the background. March 2021's update had altered Marvel's Avengers progression system to make leveling up take longer than it used to. In September 2021, an XP boost was added to the game as a microtransaction. This went back on pre-release statements that microtransactions would only include cosmetics, and these changes drew heavy criticism. XP boosting was removed from Marvel's Avengers on November 3, but by that point even the November 30, 2021 release of the PlayStation-exclusive Spider-Man content couldn't save the game. The Jane Foster version of Thor and the Winter Soldier released across 2022 with hardly any impact, and Crystal Dynamics being sold to Embracer Group may have been the final nail in Marvel's Avengers' coffin. Marvel's Avengers may have handicapped itself from the start by not playing to it or its developers' strengths. Many players have noted since launch that the game would have been better served by dropping the live service elements and providing a complete single-player action-adventure experience at launch. If it had, then Marvel's Avengers may have been held up with the same reverence as Marvel's Spider-Man and the Batman Arkham series. As it stands, there aren't many players left to mourn Marvel's Avengers passing, but most would agree that a dedicated Avengers game deserves so much more. A massive PS5 update will reportedly add 2 important features, as full Discord integration and cloud streaming for PS5 games are rumored to be coming soon. Since its launch, Sony has released numerous major updates for the PS5 that add new features and other UI improvements. Version 6.00 for the PS5 came out in 2022, adding support for 1440p displays and game lists for users to better organize their games. These major updates only come out once every several months, as others are mostly related to stability improvements. The details for the next big PS5 system software update have now been leaked, and it looks like Sony will soon add 2 important features. According to insider gaming sources, PlayStation 5 system software update 7.00 is slated for March 8, 2023, and it will come with full Discord integration. The release date for Discord coming to PS5 was leaked by Insider Gaming in 2022, and rumored launch plans seem to have remained unchanged. Before delving into the other aspects of this update, fans should note every rumor or leak should be taken with a grain of salt. Version 7.00 comes with another massive feature, as Insider Gaming reports that fans will be able to stream PS5 games on their consoles with this update. This will allow gamers to save up on precious storage on their systems, although users can increase the total space by adding another SSD to their PS5 consoles. According to the same sources, this element has been in development for months with the project name Cronus. Furthermore, Insider Gaming reports that cloud streaming of PS5 titles will be included as a part of PlayStation Plus Premium, the highest tier of the revamped PS Plus. Members in the premium tier can stream from a selection of games across various PlayStation systems, so PS5 titles will be added bonus for this category. It should be noted that cloud streaming is not everywhere, so this feature may be similarly limited to select regions. Finally, Insider Gaming mentions that Sony will start beta testing for Update 7.00 in the coming days, with plans to end it on January 30th. However, the report states that testers will not be able to use PS5 Discord integration during this period. Sony usually reveals the full list of features of software updates well in advance, so users will have to wait for a final confirmation on version 7.00 to get more details. A new firmware update will be arriving soon to the PS5 to support the release of its newest high-end wireless controller, the DualSense Edge. PS5 players are familiar with its standard controller, the DualSense. Still, those who wish for a more refined and customizable gaming experience will be excited by the arrival of this latest update. The newest update is already available to download, after which users will have to agree to an updated terms of service. The size of the file is a modest 1 GB and contains the necessary support for the DualSense Edge to run smoothly on the PS5. Beyond that, the update also promises improved performance for players. The DualSense Edge will be released on January 26 and will provide competition for the Xbox Elite Series controllers. It promises to be highly customizable with replaceable stick caps and stick modules. Players will also be able to change between different back buttons and completely remap their controls to their liking for ultimate comfort during gaming. The DualSense Edge will of course be more expensive than its standard counterpart, with Sony offering it to players for $200. This brand new controller will allow for the creation of several different control profiles and for the player to be able to switch between them quickly and efficiently through the use of the function button. The DualSense Edge will allow for even further customization, such as adjustable haptic feedback and trigger stops, and tunable stick sensitivity. Haptic feedback is a way to grant the user a more immersive experience by employing the gamer's sense of touch. Traditional examples include a controller shaking when taking damage. All of these and even more features will come packed within the DualSense Edge, which will arrive in its own neatly organized and chargeable case. The DualSense Edge will be $20 more expensive than the Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2. Although Xbox does offer other special edition controllers for the same price, and the SCUF Instinct Pro costs over $210. The SCUF Reflex, their version of the PS controller, is exactly the same price as the DualSense Edge, while their Reflex Pro costs over $250. Speaking of the PS5, recently, there were reports claiming that setting your precious Sony PlayStation 5 upright could result in damaging your console as the liquid metal thermal interface material could seep out and leak, shorting out the circuitry and frying your console. The thermal interface material is used to increase thermal transfer from your processor to your heat sink to regulate the temperature. On Twitter, PlayStation expert Woololo has retracted their initial statement with regard to the PS5 and its potential issue. They also clarified that there was a critical misunderstanding with what they stated previously. Essentially, instead of potentially affecting all PS5 consoles that have been taken out of their boxes and placed vertically, the issue would only potentially affect consoles that had been dismantled for repairs. This means that if your console was never disassembled, it should be fine. Disassembling a PS5 is also not something that can be done with standard tools, as PlayStation engineer Yasuhiro Oatori revealed back in 2020. You'll need a specialized screwdriver like a Torx T8 to gain access to the sensitive internals. So, be careful when working with sensitive parts. Kazunori Yamauchi, CEO of Polyphony Digital and producer of Gran Turismo 7, has stated in an interview that it takes nearly 300 days to create one of the game's cars when starting from scratch. Gran Turismo is a series known in part for the attention to detail it pays to each of the cars in its roster, so it would make sense that the timeline to create one in Gran Turismo 7 would be extensive, even if not many would expect it to be almost a year. As a series that emphasizes immersing the player in the driving experience as much as possible, with a VR update to Gran Turismo 7 being the latest proof of this commitment, much of that philosophy revolves around simulating an accurate driving experience for all the included vehicles. Getting this experience right for every car would require exhaustive research into how they operate while keeping in mind translating that into a game and managing resources available to the developers. Speaking to Impress, Kazunori Yamauchi has stated that it takes roughly 270 days to create one of Gran Turismo 7's cars from scratch, and the current output should be around 60 cars per year. He also stated that while he acknowledges getting requests for the return of vehicles like the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 4, because of the lengthy process it takes to create a car and limited resources at Polyphony, he asks for fans to understand if they have not. Something else he admitted to is the gap between what fans want versus what he imagines, meaning that even if he is aware of fan expectations, there is no guarantee that fan favorites will arrive in future content updates for Gran Turismo 7. Although Gran Turismo recently broke a sales milestone, having sold about 90 million copies since the series debuted, Yamauchi could potentially be referring to what the staff of Polyphony Digital can reasonably do since the studio has roughly 200 employees working there. If the goal is to create 60 cars a year while one takes 270 days, assumptions can be made that the developers have to balance creating cars that fit Polyphony Digital's vision with the ones fans have requested. When it comes to the gap Yamauchi mentioned, he could potentially be alluding to Gran Turismo 7's poor reception with many fans. And while many focused complaints on monetization along with forced online connectivity and server issues, some likely also had qualms with vehicles missing from prior games. As the game receives more content and improved servers, responses to the game can potentially improve while Polyphony Digital balances resources, fan expectations, and its vision for the game. Razer teased its Project Carol concept design at CES 2023. It's the world's first head cushion design with near-field surround sound and haptics. The concept has already won several awards at CES 2023, including the Innovation Award and Best of Show Award, indicating its proof of concept has at least caught some attention. Unlike traditional speakers, Project Carol is calibrated for near-field surround sound, delivering closer, more direct rear audio that focuses on the listener's ears for ultimate immersion. Programmed by leading haptics specialist, Interhaptics, the cushion converts sound signals into lifelike vibrations in real time, allowing you to physically feel rear surround effects as if you were in the world itself. Project Carol works perfectly with any PC capable of 7.1 surround sound output and supports any media with up to 7.1 encoding. Just load up your favorite entertainment to begin enjoying a fuss-free listening experience. Powered by proprietary wireless technology, plug in the cushion's dongle to your PC and experience uninterrupted immersion for up to 8 hours with seamless 2.4 GHz wireless design, or have it ready for your next session with convenient USB Type-C charging. Designed to fit with all major brands of gaming chairs, Project Carol features a pair of top and bottom straps that can be fully extended, unstretched, to 350 and 310 mm respectively. Razer often gives previews of forthcoming projects, including some, like Project Carol, that remain in the concept phase. However, some of these concepts, like Razer's N95 Mask Zephyr, do end up becoming real products that you can purchase. Others end up influencing future product design or technology, even if that specific product never sees the light of day. We'll have to wait and see which bucket Project Carol ends up being. 4. Project Carol seems like a neat idea for a particularly niche audience designed specifically for those PC gamers who aren't satisfied with a pair of gaming speakers or a gaming headset. The Nintendo Switch has officially taken the crown as the best-selling video game console in the United States for 2022. The Switch, originally released in 2017, offers an enormous selection of first- and third-party games, including several hit indie titles. Nearly all of them can be bought and directly downloaded onto the console. The mobility factor likely played a large role in purchasing decisions as well. Undocking the console from its base to play console-quality AAA titles on the go has certainly helped draw in buyers who may have been hesitant in past years. The rankings come from NPD Group's Matt Piscatella, Executive Director and Video Game Industry Analyst at the NPD Group. NPD is the premier video game market research organization that has been measuring video game industry purchasing trends since 1995. The NPD's data for the year 2022 shows consumers collectively spent $56.6 billion on video game software and hardware, representing a -5% decrease in consumer spending compared to 2021. NPD speculates that the data collectively represents an upward trend that should carry through 2023, as supply chain issues lingering from the COVID-19 pandemic resolve. The Nintendo Switch has been the industry sales leader by units sold every year since its release in 2017. The Switch not only made it out of 2022 as the overall sales leader but also has the honor of selling the most units specifically in the month of December when shoppers are buying gifts for the holiday season. December sales rankings by console mirror the yearly trend, with the Switch leading the pack, followed by the PS5. Then the Xbox Series X and S. Nintendo's dominance of the console market is in large part due to the Switch's relatively affordable price point compared to Microsoft and Sony's console offerings. When the figures are adjusted for most money earned through console sales overall, however, Sony's PlayStation 5 came out on top for 2022. A base Switch comes in at around $300 US while a base PlayStation 5 is around $500. NPD did not release specific sales figures, only rankings. As for the best-selling games of 2022, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out on top, beating out other notable top earners like Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, and Madden NFL 23. A contributing factor in NPD's rosy outlook for the video game industry in 2023 outside of lingering pandemic-related delays can be attributed largely to upcoming releases of long-awaited follow-up entries to smash hit titles, like Final Fantasy XVI, RE4 Remake, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Then there are new titles like Starfield, Bethesda Game Studios' first major single-player release since 2015's Fallout 4, that will likely end up topping sales charts. The 10 best-selling games for December 2022 were reportedly, in order, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, God of War Ragnarok, Madden NFL 23, FIFA 23, Sonic Frontiers, Elden Ring, Need for Speed, Unbound, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. 159 million console and PC games were sold across tracked European markets in 2022, a drop of 7.1% over the year before. This is according to the latest GSD data, which tracks physical and digital game sales across Europe. It tracks all physical sales in major European countries, see list below, and digital sales from most major AAA publishers. The main exception is Nintendo, which doesn't share digital data, in every territory across Europe. The data does not include games from indie teams. 82.5 million games were sold via digital downloads, with the remaining 76.6 million sold via physical retailers. If we focus purely on new games, so titles released in 2022, game sales are actually up 16% compared with the new games released in 2021. Sales of FIFA 23 were up 3% over FIFA 22 year-on-year, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 sales were up nearly 73% over Call of Duty Vanguard. If Pokémon Scarlet and Violet sales were combined, the game would have charted at number 6, replacing its sister title, Pokémon Legends Arceus. It's worth noting that the Pokémon games do not include digital sales, so they may have charted higher. Pokémon Scarlet and Violet sales were 13% bigger year-on-year than 2021's Diamond and Pearl remakes, and 8% bigger than the previous mainline releases, 2019's Pokémon Sword and Shield. Other key sellers in the top 10 include LEGO Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, number 8, and 3 PlayStation exclusives. God of War Ragnarok, number 7, Horizon Forbidden West, number 9, and Gran Turismo 7, number 10. Outside of Pokémon, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was the best-selling Switch game at number 11, with Nintendo Switch Sports close behind at number 13. In terms of countries, the UK was the number 1 games market across Europe. FIFA 23 was the best-selling game in most major markets, with just a couple of exceptions, such as Finland, where Elden Ring was number 1. However, for the tracked territories, 5.3 million consoles were sold last year, a drop of 25% over the year before. Nintendo Switch was comfortably the number 1 console, despite sales falling by 15% over the year before. PS5 was a clear number 2, sales down 35%, while the Xbox Series S and X consoles were the only platforms to report a sales growth year-on-year, up 4.4%, but it is in third position. Switch was the number 1 selling console in almost every country with a few exceptions. In Denmark and Sweden, PS5 is the number 1 console, whereas Xbox Series S and X was number 1 in Norway. Sony has published its annual list of top PlayStation Store downloads, revealing exactly what punters in the US, Canada, and Europe were plopping onto their PS4 and PlayStation 5 hard drives in 2022. Of no real surprise, FIFA once again dominated in Europe, with FIFA 23 securing pole position on both consoles. Over in the US and Canada, however, big balls were swapped for big guns, as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 took the lead across both platforms. God of War Ragnarok was also, unsurprisingly, a big winner on PlayStation 5, coming in as the third biggest download of 2022 in Europe, after Modern Warfare 2, and the second biggest download in the US and Canada. It was way down the PS4 list, however, scoring 9th place in the US and Canada and 15th place in Europe. Sales of physical copies of video games have dropped quite a bit. According to a new report on the health of the video games industry in the UK, the ease of access to digital games has proved that the convenience of being able to download a game directly onto a console or PC from home is just too alluring. It seems the age-old digital versus physical debate is being settled by people who would rather buy games from the comfort of their own homes. Physical sales have been on a steady decline over the past decade. With the rise of digital storefronts, most prominently Steam, owned and operated by legendary video game developer Valve, the old brick-and-mortar retail model has struggled to keep pace. Now that Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony offer their own robust digital storefronts, it seems like the era of discs and cartridges may be nearing its end. The Digital Entertainment and Retail Association, ERA, is a UK-based trade organization that tracks physical and digital media sales for the music and video game industries, among other services. The ERA estimates 89.5% of games sold in 2022 were digital downloads. Only 10.5% of copies sold were physical discs or cartridges. Digital sales make up 9 out of every 10 games sold in the UK. All told, the UK games industry totaled €4.7 billion worth of sales, far surpassing the sales numbers of the music, TV, and film industries. Since digital game retailers like Steam and Epic aren't exactly forthcoming with their sales figures, the ERA cautions that the data is based on estimates. Still, the ERA has built itself a reputation for producing data trusted by the titans of the video game industry. When their data points to a larger trend of physical media steadily becoming more of a niche purchase for die-hard fans and video game preservationists, publishers listen and adjust their sales plans accordingly. As for digital versus physical video game sales in the United States, in February 2022, a video game industry data tracker called NDP Game Pulse found that the number of new games available for purchase on cartridges or discs in the US dropped significantly to 226 titles in 2021. compared to 321 titles in 2018. That's a 30% drop in 2 years, leaving the percentage of physical game sales at only a 10.3% share of the market. This trend is reflected in the rise of digitally released indie games getting physical releases after they have achieved a degree of success that justifies the manufacturing costs. Games publishers are taking note that consumer preferences lean heavily toward digital purchases and are manufacturing fewer physical copies than they have in the past to reflect the shift. The trend points to physical copies becoming more of a novelty than a necessity. Microsoft has announced that it will begin eliminating a total of 10,000 jobs beginning today and concluding by the end of the third quarter of the 2023 fiscal year. In a company-wide blog post published January 18, CEO Satya Nadella discussed the layoffs as well as outlined what he feels Microsoft has to focus on to ensure that the company will be equipped to deal with current and future recessions while maintaining growth. Between its gaming division, software developers, and operating systems, Microsoft continues to be a world-renowned brand that influences both gaming and the working world in a variety of ways. With over 220,000 employees worldwide, the announced layoffs are 5% of Microsoft's total workforce. The CEO wrote that costs include severance pay for qualifying US-based employees, which would be higher than normal market value, 6 months of continued healthcare coverage, career transitional services, and 60 days prior termination notice regardless of whether a state requires it or not. He also wrote that employees affected by the company layoffs outside the US would receive benefits that align with their country's laws. Microsoft will continue to hire workers for certain key strategic areas while eliminating others, Nadella also wrote in the company-wide blog post. One of these strategic areas may be artificial intelligence, as over the last few years Microsoft has been buying up businesses with that specific focus. Companies like Nuance Communications, an AI and speech recognition software provider most notably used in the field of healthcare, which Microsoft bought in March 2022 for $18.8 billion. The CEO notes how Microsoft had noticed an increase in digital spending during the early day of the pandemic but points out that it appears most consumers are more recently attempting to do more with what they have. This comes after the company's first fiscal quarter, which saw its net income decline by 14% to $17.56 billion due to a slowdown in new computer sales. It was still able to offset these losses with Microsoft's cloud-based services, which saw an increase of 11% in its revenue to the tune of $50 billion over the same time period. Though there is no mention of where exactly these cuts are set to take place, the loss of this many employees is likely to impact every part of Microsoft in some way. These may include those within the Xbox community, even though Microsoft saw a 3% increase in revenue from its Xbox brand in 2022, and more recently set a quarterly profit record for Microsoft's gaming division. Microsoft's pending job cuts reportedly will include layoffs in their Xbox division, 343 Industries, and Bethesda. After a series of high-profile acquisitions over the past few years, the massive tech company is scaling back the number of its employees. In the mid-2010s, Microsoft began to acquire a number of game developer studios and publishers. When this period began is somewhat up to interpretation, as the mega company began acquiring outside game studios as early as the 2000s. Purchases began to ramp up after the company acquired Obsidian Entertainment and Ninja Theory in 2018. Concerns began ramping up when it acquired ZeniMax Media in 2020 before Microsoft announced it would acquire Activision Blizzard in early 2021. Now it appears that all of that spending may have caught up with the company. According to new reports, the company's Xbox divisions, Halo developer 343 Industries, and Fallout and Elder Scrolls studio Bethesda would all be affected by this. While it's not clear how many jobs will be cut, sources stated that 343, in particular, was set to be hit hard by these layoffs. At the same time, Amazon is also set to eliminate over 18,000 jobs and Google over 12,000 jobs as spending slows. The tech slump continues to deepen, and concerns over a pending global recession keep companies on the cautious side. Following up on the recent news of Microsoft cutting thousands of jobs, sources now claim that Halo Infinite developer 343 Industries has been hit particularly hard, with director Joe Staten leaving the studio. It's hardly a secret that the development of the latest Halo title was troublesome, and while many hope that things will improve as more post-launch DLC comes out, it doesn't seem that the problems are over just yet. According to Jason Schreier, Joe Staten is set to leave 343 Industries to rejoin Xbox Publishing. Staten initially joined 343 to release Halo Infinite and stuck around as a director from that point onwards. Having originally worked at Bungie for the first couple of mainline Halo titles and the original Destiny, Staten racked up a number of writing and directorial credits over the years and ended up joining Microsoft as a senior creative director in 2014. As for his involvement with 343 Industries and Halo Infinite, Staten worked as the campaign project lead, meaning that the info that he may be leaving is particularly problematic for fans of the game's single-player content. Schreier underlined this notion, too, saying that the 343 Industries campaign team has been hit hard in general, even outside of Staten leaving the project. Microsoft's gaming studio job cuts imply a massive streamlining of the company's game production capacities. Now, many former 343 Industries employees have taken to social media to express their frustrations and blame Microsoft layoffs for all of Halo Infinite's problems. Former Halo Infinite senior multiplayer designer Patrick Wren tweeted his belief that the layoffs at 343 Industries and the current state of Halo Infinite should never have taken place, and he attributed this to ineffective leadership at the helm of the game's development, which created an excessive amount of stress on the team striving to make the title the best it can be. Tyler Owens, another former Halo developer, tweeted out his grievances towards Microsoft and its practices, noting that it is slowly causing the death of the beloved Halo Infinite series. Owens accused Microsoft of ruthless contracting policies designed to maximize tax incentives, and layoffs being handed out despite huge profits and executive bonuses. Owens believes that Microsoft has ultimately put the Halo series in a position to fail. Halo developer 343 Industries has released a statement denying claims that the company will no longer helm Halo projects. This is in response to rumors claiming that while Microsoft was laying off employees, including 343 employees, it was also looking to shift the development of Halo titles to a new studio in its restructuring efforts. Microsoft is going through a rough patch as it manages the effects of layoffs all across the tech industry. When news first broke that Microsoft was going to have mass layoffs before the end of its fiscal year, there were immediate concerns about how it would spread to its sprawling video game departments. As the hours and days passed, news of a few developers from various studios gave word that they were let go. The most explosive news was the rumor being spread that 343 Industries was going to lose development duties on the Halo games. In a new update on the Halo Twitter account, Pierre Hintze, the studio head of 343 Industries, issued a statement beginning with, "Halo and Master Chief are here to stay." The short statement affirms the studio's intentions to remain the developer of any future Halo games and storytelling. Earlier in the week, rumors began circulating that Microsoft was considering removing 343 Industries from Halo projects. The tweet raises questions on whether there have been boardroom meetings where agreements were made to keep 343 Industries as the Halo franchise developer, or whether the developer is putting up a fight for its signature project. With 343 studio head Pierre Hintze signing the statement, it offers a definitive denial to quell the heat sparked by the rumors. Time will tell if it remains true, but by having 343's studio head make the statement, it looks like Halo will indeed remain with 343 Industries in the near future. 343 Industries has had a hard time following through with parts of its post-launch content of Halo Infinite. Unkept promises like the scrapped split-screen co-op as well as a lack of excitement surrounding the multiplayer modes has left Halo Infinite lost in the wake of its competitors. The layoffs have clearly caused internal tension within the studio, with some Halo Infinite devs calling out Microsoft leadership following these developments. Many have cited stressful working conditions as a factor in Halo Infinite's development, which is likely to worsen with a reduced workforce behind the game. This news comes after earlier developments within 343, such as Halo Infinite campaign director Joe Staten leaving his position at the company. This restructuring seemed to go hand in hand with the layoffs, and paint a picture of 343 having to work with an even tighter schedule while using an entirely new framework of post-launch development. The impact that this will have on Halo Infinite may see its post-launch roadmap take even longer to implement, despite rumors that it remains unchanged as things stand. Considering Halo Infinite's player count has continuously fallen since launch, these layoffs could be a nail in the coffin for any hopes of a post-launch revival. The extent of the impact to 343 and Halo Infinite remain to be seen due to the recency of the news, but it can be assumed that the delivery of much-needed content will become significantly more difficult, spelling trouble for the title. Phil Spencer and Matt Booty are incompetent leaders and should be fired for making Xbox the laughingstock for the past 8 years. Launching next-generation consoles with no first-party support, destroying and degrading Halo and Gears, lack of new IPs, compromising games' vision by launching them day and date in a service. Development hell and mismanagement at the initiative, Playground Games, 343, Undead Labs and Rare really shows how incompetent Xbox is. I think Halo is dead, and 343 should move on to a new IP. Rest Halo for a few years and focus on creating great games, rather than buying popular things and focusing on services. And that's all for the video guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.